Superman, the Man of Steel, the Man of Tomorrow, the last son of Krypton? Well, we all know where Clark Kent starts his journey. He's an Endling, the last of his kind from a dead world. But as his adventures continued, he gained an entire rogues gallery of Kryptonians and even a family. So, what if you want to play one in Claim the Sky? Or one of the many Superman-like beings from other comic worlds like Invincible or The Boys? Let's see what we can do. Welcome to the Dead Unicorn, the tabletop role-playing game club. My name is Corey, and it's time to make another superhero. Last time, I made Green Lantern and Claim the Sky, and I think I made a mistake or two. So, I want to go back, and I want some redemption with Superman. What I missed is that Claim the Sky has two really cool rules I should have mentioned. First are power shifts, and the second are power stunts. Those will be very important today, as they will make our Superman super. But first, if you never played Claim the Sky, it's based on the Cypher system, which I've done a full review on my channel, and there are some very good primers on YouTube about it, but I will give you a really brief overview here. It is an endurance-based system that uses levels for every challenge. To do a task, a player spends the correct amount and type of endurance from 3 pools: might, speed, and intellect, then rolls a d20 in hopes of rolling equal to or above that level of the task. Tasks can be eased, reducing the difficulty level, or hindered, increasing it. NPCs and static tasks are treated the same, with their base level setting the difficulty for any task against them. Instead of classes, Cypher has types and foci, and instead of species or personality, they have descriptors. So, why make a Superman-centered RPG? Well, he's the OG now, isn't he? Someone will probably want to make a hero like him, since his power set is in many different superhero worlds. And that's not even to mention how DC has a large Superman family, with many superwomen and superboys, and playing one of these characters, or even your own Superman-related character, seems like a good fit for a team game. You can even make all of the PCs a Superman type, like a Superman core. But before we put pen to paper, let's first figure out what Superman's powers are.
Which powers do we have?
What he's known for the most is probably his physical strength.
Super strength? Ah! Here?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
He's able to break chains, lift planes, bash asteroids away. The amount of strength he has seems to change depending on which version of the character he is, how experienced he is, or sometimes just because the writers want to increase tension and give him a certain strength. But he's always stronger than any regular man. Now, strength is useless without toughness, as any fan of My Hero Academia can attest to. Our Superman should be able to fend off bullets, missiles, and maybe even atomics. Again, this feature seems to change depending on where Superman is in his career or which version of him you're using. Up, up, and away, Superman flies. Some stories say he could only leap during his early career, but other times he could fly right away as he mastered flight as Superboy. Faster than a speeding bullet, Superman is fast.
Lickety speed?
Check.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes so fast he can race the Flash and win. But again, this is dependent on those same circumstances with strength and toughness. What the writers want and where he is in his career. And also, how much the Flash has mastered his powers. Superman can emit radiation. Sometimes heat, sometimes X-rays. He does this from his eyes, but later in his adventures, he can do it from his entire body, draining himself of power. Superman has super senses. He has enhanced hearing, so he can hear people whispering, or he can hear things from very far away. He can also see very far away, and he can see in other spectrums. Does he have a super taste or a super sniffer?
Ain't got that.
Nope.
Superman sometimes can even exist in outer space. Sometimes he can't without special equipment. Superman can also do some crazy stuff. Sometimes these are part of other powers. For example, He can use super strength to expel the contents of his lungs into a freeze breath. He can also use his super senses to check vitals or detect lies. He can even use his super speed to time travel. He gains his powers from two parts. First, having an alien physiology from a high gravity planet, and the second is being able to absorb the yellow radiation from Earth's sun. Red sunlight can neutralize the powers he gains from a yellow sun. Kryptonite, irradiated stones from his home planet, can weaken, mutate, or kill him. But it's not the only form of radiation that's been able to do that. Lastly, magic can affect him as well as if he were a normal man. There were a few more areas of attack he has few defenses in, like mental attacks, pheromones, and viruses. We won't be covering any of those weird one-off powers he had in the Silver Age. And we also won't be covering that time he was electric in the 90s. My apologies to the few Superman Blue fans out there, but, I gotta draw a line. If you're creating a Superman-like hero, they may not have all of his powers. For example, Superboy from Young Justice cannot fly. If you're creating a Viltrumite, they don't have heat vision. So remember, this video is a guideline. Make adjustments where you see fit. Now that we have a good baseline, let's get cracking and make our own super guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the teeny little super guy.
Teeny little super guy.
Let's start with this handy chart that has popular superheroes and see what it recommends. Here it has Beneficent Explorer, who flies faster than a bullet. We'll tackle that descriptor first. Beneficent. This descriptor helps your allies recover from injuries faster just by being in your presence and allows you to intercept damage an ally would have taken. For example, I don't know, getting in the way of bullets for bystanders. If you help someone, that help is increased. But when you're alone, intellect and speed tasks are hindered. And this descriptor is peak Superman, peak Clark Kent Superman. He's friendly, helpful, and inspiring. When he's not Superman rescuing people and doing things for others, he's the bumbling and socially awkward Clark Kent. If you want to play Superman as written, you can't go wrong with Beneficent. But what if you're playing Power Girl, or Homelander, or a super person of your own making? Beneficent may not be right. You may go with brash if your character's headstrong, clever if they're smart, charming if they're social, but you want a little extra oomph for your character. There are two descriptors that can do it: tough and mighty. Tough makes you even more invulnerable, giving you natural armor and might defense to shrug off those blows. Mighty allows you to lift bigger and heavier things and then throw them around. Here, again, you get trained in might defense. And you also heal faster with a +1 to your recovery. All around, I'd take mighty over tough, but either are a great option. An exception to this would be Homelander, who should take the sensational descriptor. It has popular, and the popular ability is perfect for this character, as his popularity has always been a double-edged sword. Now let's get to types, as these are more like your main class. The Explorer type is a jack of all trades, and you might think of Superman as a warrior because he punches the bad guy really good.
Oh, did I punch him? Did I punch him pretty hard? Yeah, you punched him like so hard. Superman's like, no!
But explorers have some great things for Superman. But I'd even say that other Superman type characters from the Superman family, or even Invincible or Shazam, might be better off as explorers as well. And we'll get to that in a second. But let's take a look at the other types. Like Adept, but really we should take Adept right off the table. While this type can give super senses and heat vision, most of the powers here aren't right for Superman or even people like Superman, but would be perfect for a magic type like Dr. Fate or Constantine. The speaker type might be okay for Homelander with abilities like Terrifying Presence and Demeanor of Command, Fast Talk. If you're looking for a superpowered grifter, this might be the right type. Not that grifter. Stand here. Warrior abilities have to do with how you fight rather than raw ability. Combat prowess does extra damage. Control the field is a good tactical ability. These are perfect for characters like General Zod and Omni-Man. But it even has some good abilities for just a regular Superman, like No need for weapons, which allows Superman's fists to do extra damage if you want. But really, Explorer does make the most sense, and let's talk about why. First, it also has no need for weapons, but also muscles of iron, which isn't about doing the most damage to others, but rather pure feats of strength. Endurance is there for more staying power, fleet of foot so you can be speedy, and that's just at tier 1. As you go up in power, you can recover quicker, ignore pain, and generally get tankier and tankier. And while at the same time, you can pick up some good superheroing stuff like investigative skills and danger sense. Finally, we're on to our focus, which is faster than a speeding bullet. This focus was tailor-built just for Superman. It starts with hover, which moves you slowly through the air. It's not the best start, but we all have to start somewhere. Tier 2, you get greater enhanced potential, and that gives a good deal of endurance to your stat pool in basically any way you wish. You can build your Superman smarter, or mightier, or speedier. It's your call. See-through matter at tier 3 is obviously X-ray vision. Blink of an eye allows you to move 1,000 feet per round, which can be combined with up to speed, which will move you 2,000 feet per round. Not dead yet allows you to get back up 1 round after you seemingly die. Perfect for a superhero comeback. And finally, burning light is your tier 6 power, and it's your heat vision. If your character doesn't have heat vision or other laser powers, you can instead get ignore affliction, which can help shut off disease or mind control. We have a pretty good Superman here. At tier 1, he's not great, but with more adventures and experience, he can become truly super. But there are some definite gaps in his powers that we will need to fill in, and this is where power shifts come in. Every superhero gets 5 power shifts, or more or less, depending on how your game master sets up your game. Power shifts are that extra stuff that makes you truly super. Flight, super strength, and insane skills. So first off, let's give our character flight. At first, our flight is pretty slow, but at tier 3, we can combine it with blink of an eye to do some incredible stuff. Now let's get 2. That's right, 2 resilient power shifts. This will give us 2 levels of armor, which we can stack with tough if we took that descriptor. Resilience will also ease our might defense rolls by 2, which means we can just start tanking blows. Remember that we can use might defense against NPCs to negate all damage. And easing it by 2 lowers the difficulty by 2. So level 3 hoods with guns shooting Superman are now level 1. And if you took tough or mighty, you get a skill in might defense, which brings that down to 0. So now you automatically ignore all of their damage. Let's give ourselves some more strength. We'll get a strength power shift, making it even easier to toss around large objects like, I don't know, cars, trains. Finally, we'll get a level of prodigy. This allows our Superman to get 1 high-level power at the cost of one of our low-level ones. For example, we can get our heat vision faster if we don't want to hover. But it can be any power we want, not just those in our type or foci. So your Superman can get anything. Freeze breath, time travel, surviving in space, sky's the limit. As your character grows, you can get more power shifts for the eye-watering cost of 10 XP. But it might be worth it to pick up some new Superman advanced features like blurring speed, where you move so fast that people can't make out where you are. So let's take a look at our checklist. Strength, check. Toughness, check. Speed, check. Super senses are covered by Explorer, but you can use Prodigy to get even more advanced ones like True Senses. He can even use Heat Vision as well, but he can't survive in space or do some of those more niche things like the freeze breath or the time travel. All of those abilities are predicated on other abilities Superman has. For example, super jumping is just an expression of super strength. This is where power stunts come in. A power stunt is when a character uses a power for something other than its intended purpose, pushing that power to its limit. Like when Spider-Man has to whip up a web parachute on the fly, or when Goku fires a Kamehameha at the ground to gain limited flight. Just an aside, I think Claim the Sky is perfect for a Dragon Ball or other anime RPG. Tell me if you want that video in the comments. A power stunt is harder to do, giving a greater difficulty at first. For example, a super jump might give 4 levels of hindrance. Checking lies with super senses might be 6 levels of hindrance. And using super speed to time travel might be 10 levels of hindrance. Once a character does a power stunt a few times in different scenarios, they can master it and make it one of their abilities with just a few XP. We do have one glaring omission here: weaknesses. But hey, some Superman types don't have weaknesses. But hey, the original Superman and his merry band, they got kryptonite, magic, red sunlight. Unfortunately, Claim the Sky doesn't have much to say on that, but I do have a few ideas. First, your narrator can make them GM intrusions. For example, there's a magic attack and you can't use any of your special defenses, but you gain an XP point for yourself and one for your friend. Second, your GM could allow you to take a weakness and you just have it. But this might feel like you're taking a flaw with no benefit or reason. So alternatively, the narrator could allow someone taking a substantial weakness to gain a new ability or even a power shift within reason. And I think we've done it, everyone. I think we've made ourselves a Superman or a Superwoman. At first, they won't be perfect. They'll be discovering and trying to master their powers, but eventually they'll become a man of steel in earnest. If you found this guide helpful, I mean, give it a thumbs up. If not, tell me about it. I know you Green Lantern fans found some ways I could make that better, so be sure to check out the comments for even more tips using Claim the Sky in your superhero game. I love having conversations about RPGs and comics across the internet. I'm so happy to have this channel to express my thoughts, give out cool rules ideas, so thank you for watching this. If you hit the subscribe button, you won't be a stranger. And remember to join the fun in your own game. Go roll some dice.